breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Good morning from the Low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good friend of ours, Danny Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports. He also does the Wake and Rake podcast with Will Middlebrooks. We're going to talk about how incredible some of the starting pitching has been in baseball thus far this season. Additionally, we're going to touch upon with him what we've been seeing in the American League with a lot of teams that have been just not very great in general, the National League playoff picture as well, and so much more. In the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have 1 to 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larry CM, name does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions, but we did have ourselves a fun day of baseball on Thursday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The rough season for the Boston Red Sox continues 8-2. The Baltimore Orioles get the job done. Ryan Baio just absolutely lit a blaze. He gave up all 8 runs over the course of 5 innings, and as a matter of fact, he gave up 6 of them in the first inning. For the Orioles, no home runs, but they go 4 of 9 with men in scoring position. And Trevor Rogers, he was in the neighborhood of lending a good start. 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Yunier Cano, don't you know he got an out of the bullpen squirrels. Tyler Wells, Keegan Aiken, they both give you a scoreless inning. Now, Wilson Contreras does go deep off of Andrew Kittredge, 12th home run season. Kittredge gives up that home run in his inning work. Meanwhile, Giovanni Morin, 2 shutout innings. Tommy Kahnle, newly acquired for the Red Sox, 2 shutout innings, but way too little, way too late. The Giants getting into the scoring groove, 12-9. They take down the Milwaukee Brewers. Coleman Crow was eating crow on this one. He got 7 outs, and he gave up 6 runs, all of which were earned, including being taken deep in this one by Mr. Casey Schmidt, 13th home run season. Eric Haas, he would also go deep off the Woodford. Jake Woodford, his 4th home run season, and for Woodford, 4 runs allowed in 3 innings. Yeah, DL turn it up. Hall give you 7 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Grant Anderson, 2 runs allowed in 1 2/3 innings. Meanwhile, Adrian Nocom, Doogie Howser, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 4 1/3 innings. He does give up a home run in this one as Jackson Chourio takes him deep, 3rd home run season. Then Chourio off of JT Brubaker gets his 4th home run season. Brubaker gives up 2 runs over the course of 2 innings. Sam Entiges, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Tristan Beck, a run given up in an inning. You did have 3 runs given up without a single out of the bullpen from Wilkin Ramos. So you had Caleb Killian come in and clean up the mess in the 9th inning. But the Giants, they were able to get a win, a very rare one for them. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, they filled up with a 6-4 win over the San Diego Padres. Lucas Giolito, just not a good start here. 3 runs, 2 of which weren't given up in 4 innings. Taken deep by Adolis Garcia. 5th home run season. Yuki Matsui, Ron Mataraccio both give you a scoreless inning. Audrey Motorhone from there. 3 runs allowed in 1/3 of an inning. Meanwhile, Wandy Peralta, 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler, he was wheeling, he was dealing. Manny Machado did take him deep, 11th home run season, but 2 runs allowed in 7 innings. Orion Kirkering is shutout inning. Jose Alvarado continues to be rough. He gives up a home run to Jackson Merrill, 6th home run season, gives up 2 runs in an inning, but for the Philadelphia Phillies, they find a way to persevere there. For the Blue Jays, they were able to utilize a 4 spot in the 9th inning to take down the Atlanta Braves, 7-2 the final. Chris Sale, well, he sort of sold on this one, 3 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Lucky it wasn't worse. He gives up 10 hits in this game. For the Blue Jays, they go 7 of 18 with men in scoring position, still leave 12 men on base, no home runs, but they were able to do a nice job getting to Ronaldo Lopez in the 9th inning, who gives up 4 runs in an inning. The Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, he was able to provide a shutout inning. DDA Fuentes, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Mason Flaherty as the opener, 4 outs, scoreless before Chad Dallas makes his MLB debut, gives up a 1 run in 3 2/3 innings. From there, Tyler Rogers and Hoffman both give you a scoreless inning. Braden Fisher does allow a solo home run as Mauricio Dubon gets his 5th home run in the campaign. From there, Louis Varland, he was able to give you 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels for the Blue Jays to be able to get that one to the window. For the Cubs, they put up a 4 spot in the 9th inning to be able to come back and win by a count of 7-6. The Athletics blow a 6-1 lead in this game as Shota Imanaga continues to get just shot out of a cannon. 6 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, taken deep by Jonah Heim, 3rd home run in the campaign. Shea Langoliers, Shea bangs his 15th and 16th home runs of the season. Tyler Soderstrom, his 8th. From there, Trent Thornton, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Ryan Rollison, 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. And then JT Ginninjuice, he gives up a run over the course of 6 innings, was taken deep by Peter Armstrong, 9th home run of the season. From there, Ian Happ was not hapless. Scott Barlow gives up a home run, 14th home run season. Barlow gives up 2 runs in an inning of work. Mark Leiter Jr., a shutout inning. Joel Kuno, 4 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Luis Medina, he tried to hold on inherited runners, gives up a pair of hits. Not charged with giving up any runs, but he allows those runs to score as Pico Armstrong, RBI single. That ends this one, and the Cubs do find a way to get that one to the window. The Pirates get this one to the window, 5-1. They take down the Houston Astros. Kai Wei Tang, 5 runs, 4 of which weren't given up in 5 innings. Give it up a home run to Ryan Ahern along the way. 9th home run of the campaign. From there, Steven Oker, 2 shutout innings. Anya De Los Santos and Brian Debreu, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning, and he had 5 shutout innings out of the young gun Jared Jones. Welcome back to him. Second start since coming off the injury list. Carmen Molzinski, 4 innings of long relief from there. Does give up a home run to Isaac Paredes, 8th home run season, but that's all that he would surrender for the Yankees. They managed to not get swept by the Cleveland Guardians here, 2-1. They are able to get the job done here. As for Cleveland, Slade Sassoni was pretty solid in this game. Gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. Cody Ear from there, he gives up a run in an inning. Matt Festa had a fiesta, give you a shutout inning, but Carlos Rodon was on his game as well. 6 shutout innings. Brent Hendrick, Fernando Cruz, David Bednar, they do not poop the Bednar. They all give you a shutout inning, so Yankees find a way to be able to get that one in. Being able to get this one in, the Kansas City Royals, 8-6 a final. They entered in this day dead stinking last in terms of run creation away from home, but they did a very good job in terms of getting to a Minnesota Twins team that went quite a bit of mix and match in this game. For the opener in Andrew Morris, he does give up 2 runs over the course of his 2 innings, and then from there, 3 runs given up in 3 2/3 innings from Mike Paredes, as he was taken deep by Michael Massey, 6th home run of the campaign. From there, Anthony Banda and out of the bullpen squirrels. Eric Orze, scoreless inning. Yandris Gomez, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Taylor Rogers, 2 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning before Justin Lawrence, pair of outside the bullpen though. The inherited runners, he was not able to hold them on, and Self Lugo, little blaze in this game. 5 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, including 3 home runs going deep for Minnesota by Buxton, 18th home run season. You would have Cody Clements get a pair, 7th and 8th home runs this season. Victor Caratini a little bit later on off of John Schreiber, 3rd home run of the campaign. Schreiber gives up that home run in an inning of work, but Daniel Lynch, Matt Strahm, Alex Lang, they all then a scoreless inning. And then in the nightcap, the Arizona Diamondbacks, they were down 2-0 going into the bottom of the 8th inning. They pulled this one out against the Dodgers, 3-2 the final. Justin Robelski continues to get hit, but he continues to not give up runs. 6 hits allowed in 6 innings, but no runs. Kyle Hurt, a scoreless inning. Will Klein regresses a little bit, though, as he was taken deep in this game by Corbin Carroll. 9th home run season, gives up a pair of runs in a 1/3 of an inning. Alex Vesey, a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and then Tanner Scott. Scott has been great this far this season, but it was not great Scott for him on this night. Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte. Walk-off home run, 11th home run in the campaign, and Ryan Nelson, good start here. 2 runs allowed over the course of 7 innings. Brandon Garcia, Paul Sewald. They're both able to end a scoreless inning. If you're taking a look at trend-wise where we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, over the last 7 days, it's been very overwhelming. How about 58 overs, 33 unders, and 2 pushes, 63.7% hit rate to the over. Favorites on the money line hitting at just 53.3% at 48 and 42, and 15 of those favorites failed to cover the run line, and overall for the season, favorites have had a brutal time on the run line. Overall rating at 55.3% on the money line, 502 and 406, but among those 502 favorites, 116 failed to cover the run line. Meanwhile, the over rate back up to 51.2%, 466 overs, 444 unders, and if math serves me correct, we've also had 24 pushes along the way as well. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Danny Vietti of CBS Sports right here on the Baseball Betting Show, myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Danny Vietti aboard. He does such great work over at CBS Sports looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Additionally, I know that he's doing an absolutely excellent job with his own podcast, the Wake and Rake podcast. He does that with Will Middlebrooks, former World Series champion of the Boston Red Sox and former Milwaukee Brewer as well. Always have to mention that on the podcast. You're able to follow Danny on the old Twitter side checks at Danny Vietti. His first and last name. Last name is spelled Vietti altogether. And Danny, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the plug. Always a pleasure to join you, Greg.
Always a pleasure to have you aboard, Danny. And Danny, we have had ourselves a wild season thus far in Major League Baseball. And before we dive in on some specific teams, how about if we look at the pitching? Because I feel like we're having one of the best years for some of these starting pitchers that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, where do you want to start? You want to start in Pittsburgh with Skeens, Ohtani in L.A., Christopher Sanchez in Philadelphia. I mean, we could go a number of different directions here. I mean, Chase Burns in Cincinnati. It's been impressive, to say the least. I hate to go chalk here, But we're at the point now where we just take for granted what this man in Los Angeles, and his name is Shohei Ohtani, is doing. This is a guy who's on track for another 40-plus home run season, and his ERA is sub-1. There is no category to define it. There is no historical reference to it. It is just completely in its own world. What Shohei Ohtani is somebody that we're going to look back on one day and pinch ourselves thinking, man, we got to experience the Shohei Ohtani in our lifetimes. And, I say this time and time again. This is, I think, his 8th season in Major League Baseball and his 4th or 5th, depending on how you look at his injury-plagued seasons, as a complete two-way player. And we still, to this day, have not seen another player even attempt at the Major League level to do what this man is doing. And not only is he doing it, but he's doing so right now at a Cy Young pace as a pitcher, at least as of this juncture, an MVP pace as a hitter. He is one of one, and I challenge everyone to please tune into every at-bat, every inning that this man gives us, because we are truly witnessing history every single day.
Yep, I'm right there with you. He has been superb, and you take a look at some of the other guys as well. Christopher Sanchez, the fact that he went 49 plus scoreless innings. Jacob Mizorowski, he's throwing 100 plus mile per hour pitches at a rate that we've never seen before. It just truly feels like it's been the year of the starting pitcher, and it was maybe a little bit shaky for a few of these guys to begin the season, but we've got like 5 or 6 top flight starters, unlike really anything we've ever seen before. And I argue that if this continues, we might see the greatest Cy Young race ever out there in the National League.
Ohtani, because of him being limited in innings, is the only argument for why Ohtani wouldn't be deserving. Because his strikeout per 9 is up over 10, his ERA is sub-1. I mean, on a per inning basis, Ohtani is your Cy Young. Well, let me go back on that and say, on a per inning basis, Mason Miller of San Diego might be in that conversation as well. I mean, I know we're talking starting pitching, and Mizorowski has been phenomenal. I mean, I think he allowed 1 earned run over the last month, which is just ridiculous. He has a strikeout per 9 near 14, which is just incredible. But Mason Miller has allowed, I think, 1 run all season. I might have that number incorrectly. I don't have his stats in front of me, and he's another guy that has a strikeout per 9 up over 15. We're seeing these numbers reach levels that we've never seen before because we are seeing pitchers throw harder than we've ever seen before. We are seeing pitchers throw with more tilt, more movement than we've ever seen in this game, this beautiful game. And so pitching has advanced so much to the point where you don't see batting averages above 300 very often. You see strikeout percentages near 30% very, very often. And that is just a testament to how much pitchers have evolved over this time.
Yep, I'm right there with you. As joining me on the show, we do have Danny Vietti. He does such great work over at CBS Sports, and he's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And allow me to throw this in here as well, because we've talked so much about the pitching, and you just mentioned it, how hard it is to be able to slug out runs. How impressive has it been that, of all teams, it's the Washington Nationals right now that lead the league in terms of run creation? And no doubt about it, they're going to need to upgrade that pitching if they ever want to become a contender. But I feel like one of the most pleasant surprises of the season is the way that these young National bats have really been able to step up.
Yeah, but the big question for me is, okay, do you want to trade these players at the peak of their value, essentially? And by they, it mostly means C.J. Abrams. Now, right now, Washington, 31-32, they are, at least as of this juncture, in the playoff race, and they've given themselves a chance. But we've seen teams kind of like this, like the Miami Marlins a year ago, teams that weren't necessarily expected to be in the race, and all of a sudden you look midway through the season, here they are. But to your point, the starting rotation leaves some to be desired. With the exception of Foster Griffin, Cade Cavalli, it's just been a hodgepodge of 5+ ERAs, spot starters, hybrid starters after that. They just don't have the starting pitching depth, in my opinion, to get through 162. And so that brings the question of, okay, C.J. Abrams has a 900 plus OPS. He's on pace for nearly 30 home runs. You put that alongside with 25 stolen bases. He's only 25 years old, and he has team control for a couple more seasons. Do you trade C.J. Abrams, which a shortstop, especially a young one, is one of the more valued players in baseball? Do you put him on the trade market come August? Because Atlanta, for example, could be looking for some middle infield help. You always want to find a 25-year-old power-hitting, speed, five-tool type player. Is C.J. Abrams going to be available? That's the big question hanging over my head when it comes to the Nationals.
Yep, that is going to be a big question, and we're going to see if they're able to stay in this race or not. And that could be very interesting to say the least. If they are a team that's above 500 at the trade deadline, what do they do with those guys? So I'm very enthralled there. And Danny, it has been a hot and cold season for a lot of these teams. The Nationals bats, they have certainly been hot, and all of a sudden we have seen a few of these teams that got off to a nice start to the season, like the Chicago Cubs, like the Tampa Bay Rays, go a little bit cold as well. How do you take a look at this juncture of the season? Because there's really not a lot of teams that are riding big giant winning/losing streaks, other than perhaps, like I said, the Padres and the Rays, and it feels like things have very much normalized after we had some very extremes to start the season.
Nah, this is why we don't even look or have a panic button for the first 2 months. The first month when Rob Thompson was fired, Alex Cora was fired, I think it's ridiculous to look at a spreadsheet and look at the numbers and say, okay, this is what a team is after 30 games, because that's just not what Major League Baseball is. It is a 162 game marathon. There might be a few sprints toward the end when the playoff race comes around, but it is all about longevity. A couple of takeaways for me is some people were trying to hit the panic button on Seattle, for example. Seattle is an offense that prides itself on the long ball, and they do not mind the swing and miss. They have one of the highest strikeout percentages in baseball this season. Once again, Randy Arozarena strikes out at a high clip. The entire lineup, Cal Raleigh is healthy. There's a lot of swing and miss in there. But when things are going right for Seattle, they're very, very streaky. And so right now, at least over the last month of the season, Seattle has been hitting the ball out of the yard at a higher clip than anybody in baseball. And all of a sudden, they've found themselves back at the top of the American League West division. So it's just one of those things where so many people want to make absolutes, and so many people want to know how the season is going to finish in May, in April. I just always preach patience, because I believe pitching, starting pitching in particular, a good bullpen defense, obviously offensive star power to go along with it, that's going to get you through 162. It's not streaky hitters in May. It's not lightning in a bottle players in April. It is durability, and it is longevity throughout 162.
Yep, I'm right there with you. And I do think that it's so important to be able to have depth as well, because we know that injuries are going to be happening throughout the entirety of a season as well. And these teams that have depth, I feel like, have really been able to reap the benefits, like in Atlanta Braves team, that we know that they're still not even fully 100%. They're dealing with Drake Baldwin being on the injury list. They have not gotten anything out of Spencer Schwellenbach this year. We're able to go down the list. How do you take a look at this team? Because while the Dodgers are the team that has won the World Series each of the last 2 years, I just look at this Braves team, and this can very much change at the trade deadline, what have you, but I just feel like they're right now playing the best baseball of any team in all of baseball, and they might actually be that deepest team in all of baseball right now as well.
I think offensively, I would put them up against anybody in baseball, including the Dodgers, at least when Drake Baldwin is healthy. I mean, you go one by one, you can go position by position. Drake Baldwin versus Will Smith, Matt Olson versus Freddie Freeman, Ozzie versus Hai-Sung Kim, or depending on if Tommy Edmonds healthy. Like, you could go around the diamond and go position by position. You can hear the argument that Atlanta's better here, Atlanta is better there. Some of them can be kind of a coin flip. But Atlanta's been able to go on this run with Ronald Acuna Jr. just finally now here in late May, early June, starting to find his way. I mean, Ronald Acuna Jr., his season numbers right now in OPS over 800. His career OPS is over 900. So he's capable of doing much, much more. Atlanta has been going on this run, the best record in Major League Baseball, 42-20. Despite their MVP not playing at the top of his game, despite Spencer Strider not playing at the top of his game. I think for Atlanta, creeping up toward this deadline as we're now 2 months away, it's just about stacking talent, because you don't know which players are going to go down to injury. It's part of the game. So you want to stack as much, especially pitching talent on this roster, bullpen talent, whatever it might be. Maybe Seth Lugo is available for Kansas City, Michael Wacha for Kansas City. We're going to have a little bit more clarity of which teams are out of the race and which players could be available as we inch closer. But Atlanta has given themselves the right to be aggressive at the deadline and to be right up there with the Dodgers, with some of the best teams in baseball. This team is legit. There's no doubt about it.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and it is going to be a lot of fun to see what we get out of those top teams in the National League. Obviously, the Brewers have been able to have their come up. The Phillies, they've really been able to turn a corner as well, so that's going to be interesting. And just how do you continue to take a look at an American League where Yankees continue to be that number one team? I feel very safe in saying that, especially with the recent struggles of the Rays, and it feels like everything else in the American League feels like very much a hodgepodge right now.
Yeah, I was looking at the Yankees the other day, and we just spent half of this last segment here talking about we don't want to hit the panic button, we don't want to have massive takeaways, but the Yankees have played fewer games against teams above 500 than anybody in baseball. And they're at 37-25, 12 games over 500. They've been playing good ball. And now with the injury to Aaron Judge, maybe things have stumbled a little bit. But I just wonder how favorable that schedule has been. I wonder if maybe they have just gotten a little bit lucky with the early on easy schedule. Against 500 teams this year, the Yankees are just 4-10. So not only have they not played a lot of the games against winning ball clubs, but they're 4-10 against winning ball clubs. That's one of the worst records in baseball. I'm not worried about New York as long, of course, as Aaron Judge is healthy. That rotation now with Cole and Rodon back into it. I mean, it's Max Fried. It's one of the best in all of baseball. But it is just kind of a little bit of a quirky note about the Yankees, just 4-10 against teams above 500. And then you look at the rest of the American League wildcard race, there's just a lot of mid. The A's are hovering around 500 at 30-31. Chicago White Sox are looking very, very good at 33-29. What an incredible story that's been on the south side of Chicago. Baltimore has been playing better baseball of late, seemingly getting healthy. I think they're probably still at least one legit starting pitcher away from truly being a competing playoff team. Toronto's starting to get healthy. The rest of the American League just seems to be a lot of mid and a lot of question marks hanging over the heads of a lot of these teams.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I have liked what I've seen out of the Blue Jays recently. They could be one of those teams that rises up from, shall we say, the big giant middle out there in the American League. We shall see on that front, and I know that you, Danny, are doing a great job gauging this great game. I know that you, Will Middlebrooks, run an absolutely tremendous podcast. You're dialed in on everything every day, so let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
I appreciate you having me on, first and foremost. Our latest episode on the Wake and Rake podcast with the mayor of Sacramento discussing the details. He revealed some further details behind their pitch to get an MLB expansion team in Sacramento. So at Wake and Rake Pod on your social handles and Wake and Rake Podcast on your favorite listening devices.
And Danny, he's doing such an amazing job with that podcast. He's doing an incredible job day in and day out looking at baseball, and every single time he joins me, learns such great insights. So big thanks to Danny for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming up next it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on the game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always a pleasure to be joined by our guy, Danny Vietti, who does such great work over at CBS Sports, looking at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So a big thanks to Danny for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Friday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GDED_D1. We're going to be going in Los Angeles station order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games in time order, and then any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started. This is 9:51, 9:52 on the card. It's the Giants. They're going to be on the road against the Cubs. It's going to be Edward Cabrera getting the start here for the Cubs. Robbie Reyes has hit Pepper to another start for the Giants. Right now, the opening total is 11.5. Under is -115. Over is -105 for the Cubs. They are -168 favorites over at FanDuel, +142 on the Giants. And presently, there's no run line prices up because we were unsure if Edward Cabrera was actually going to be making this start or not. But if I could get a +117 or better on the Cubs on the run line, I'd be looking there. I set their money line price at a -162, so very much in line with what we're getting right now in terms of the opening numbers. And when it comes to the San Francisco Giants team, it's been one that has been a little bit better with their offense recently, but still 3.9 runs per game going into the day on Thursday. That's a bottom 5 mark in all of baseball. They are starting to get something out of Casey Schmidt. He's been able to supply the team with 12 home runs. He's been hitting darn near 300, so has been big for the team, and you do get Jungle Lee off the injured list. He's been able to supply about a 300 batting average. Luis Rise has been able to move the line. Just been a case where they need a little bit more power. Willie Adames and Rafael Devers just have not been able to provide too much of that this season. For Adames, 286 on base, 9 home runs. You need to be getting more bang for your buck there, and Rafael Devers stuck on 7 home runs, about a 290 on base. You have been able to get something though out of Bryce Eldridge, who's been a nice young player for this unit for the Giants. We have seen the bullpen now go into the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA. JT Brubaker has been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Keaton Wynn has been pretty solid as well, but I'd say Caleb Killian has had a rough go of it. They do get Eric Miller off the injury list, but as they get him back, Matt Gage, he now hits the injury list as well. And then on the other end, you've got a Cubs bullpen that has been in the top 10 in terms of ERA. They've dealt with a lot of injuries throughout the season, but Daniel Palencia, since he's come back, a sub 3 ERA. Hobie Miller, Caleb Thielbar, these guys have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA as well. And it just feels like, to me, the Cubs are a really bad situational hitting team. Like, you look at the guys that they trotted out there yesterday, pretty much all but 2 guys entered in the day with over a 300 on base, but you really don't have a lot of power outside of Ian Happ, who's been able to give you 13 home runs this season. Then you've had a lot of guys who have been hitting right around about like a 240 to a 255. Alex Bregman, Pete Crow Armstrong, Michael Busch, who haven't necessarily been able to supply a lot of power. So, been a little bit up and down there. For Edward Cabrera, he's going to be making his first start after spending a little bit of time on the injury list. His last start came in more around May 20th, so about 2 weeks ago, and overall his swinging and stuff has been down 7.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's got a 4 ERA, about a 4.45 fielding dependent. Meanwhile, for Robbie Ray, he has been Robbie Boo on the road. On the road, he's given up over 2.5 walks per 9 innings, over a 70 ERA, has been much better when he has been at home. 4.45 ERA, 5.40 fielding dependent, but do think that he's going to be able to land a little bit of a better start here. I think that this total has just gone a bit too far. Like the under semi-total 10.3 at a plus 118 or better, will be willing to take a shot on the Cubs on the run line. Would need at least plus 163 to fire in on the Giants. A lot of TBD there. 953 and 954 on the card. It's Pirates. They're going to be on the road against the Braves as Martin Perez is on the bump for Atlanta, and Mitch Keller goes for the Pirates. Pirates find themselves as plus 116 underdogs, minus 136. Then I'm on Atlanta, and the total is 8.5. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105 for the Braves. I did set them at a minus 156, so I'm going to be willing to fire in there. Now for Martin Perez, it does feel like he's going to be doing for a little bit of regression, and we've seen this out of Martin Perez a few times over the last like 3-4 seasons, where he gets off to that really nice start to the season. First 2 months, he's rocking and rolling, then he gets figured out because he does pitch a lot of contact thus far this season, about 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, 279 ERA, 415 fielding dependent. Meanwhile, you've got a guy on the other end of Mitch Keller that he's been pitching to a lot of contact as well. As a matter of fact, more contact, 6.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, half a home run, 2.6 walks allowed per 9 innings, so that's been a big giant issue. And you've got a Pirates unit that has been able to do a nice job in terms of being able to get power going. They're a top 5 team in terms of run creation, with having a pair of guys in Brandon Lau along with O'Neal Cruz, who will be able to give you 15 plus home runs this season. Lau right around about a 340 on base along Cruz, and then there's a lot of guys that get on base to be able to make those 2-run shots and 3-run shots. Nick Gonzalez is hitting above 300. Ryan O'Hearn, a 370 on base. Spencer Horwitz, 385 on base. Endy Rodriguez, a backup catcher, has been solid as well. Now for the Pirates, they have faded into the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Dennis Santana, along with Justin Lawrence, who were really good in this bullpen last year, they're posting up ERAs above a 4. They do get some reinforcements with Carmen Mulchinski going from the starting rotation to the bullpen, and Evan Sisk, Gregory Soto, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. But for the Atlanta Braves, this has been a really good bullpen. Tyler Kinley has given up some runs, but Dylan Lee, Ray Iglesias, Robert Suarez, these are all guys give you a sub-250 ERA. Ronaldo Lopez is going to be able to give you some good length as well. The Braves, they entered in the Thursday number 1 in the league in terms of bullpen ERA, so do think that the Braves get the job done in a little bit of higher scoring game. So by total 9.3, especially with this Braves team being number 2 in terms of run creation. I know that Drake Baldwin is off the field right now due to injury, but Matt Olson is on pace for 40 plus home runs. Austin Riley hasn't even been himself quite yet. Ronald Acuna Jr., he's rounding back into form, 5 home runs over the last 11 or so days. Dom Smith is hitting at 300. Michael Harris is hitting at 300. He's up to 13 plus home runs, so like the over. And for the Braves, we'll lay up to a minus 155 on that money line. 955, 956 on the card. It's the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're going to be on the road facing off against the St. Louis Cardinals, as Kyle Leahy goes for the Cardinals. Brady Singer hopes to have the Cardinals sing the blues, and for the Cardinals, they're between minus 128 to a minus 136 favorites, plus 113 to plus 120. That's your number on Cincinnati. 9 to 9.5 is the total. On the 9, over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. On the 9.5, under is minus 120, the over is even for Kyle Leahy. Did set him on the money line at a minus 136, so I'm going to be in on the St. Louis Cardinals. It's just been a really rough season for Brady Singer, and I've been waiting for a little bit of progression in him to be able to get back to his previous form. It just has not happened. 6.18 ERA, 6.88 fielding dependent, 2.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, a career low 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, so I mean, it's been all sorts of brutal. 3 plus runs allowed allowed in every single one of his starts in the month of May. Meanwhile, for Kiley, it's been a little bit of a transition going from the bullpen to being a starter. Hasn't done it horribly. 4.25 ERA, 4.74 fielding dependent, about 1.3 home runs, 3.6 walks allowed per 9 innings. Has given up 1 run or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts. As a matter of fact, 4 out of his last 5 starts. But I do think that he might be hit around a little bit more here by a Reds team that finally has some reinforcements in there. And Eugenio Suarez, he had 49 home runs last season. Hasn't been quite himself this season, but spent a lot of time on the injured list. He's been able to give the team a little bit of a spark. Additionally, JJ Bleday is giving you darn near 400 on base. He's been really good ever since they've given him a little bit of a call. You need a little bit more out of some of these guys like Tyler Stevenson at the catcher spot, TJ Friedel, but Cabrera Hayes going on the injured list, honestly, is addition by subtraction. Cousin Sal Stewart has been able to give you 12 bombs, about a 350 on base. The Ellie De La Cruz injury should hurt this team, but with Nathaniel Lowe and company being able to step up, that's big. Now, what has also been big for the Reds, man, this bullpen is tight bold. The first 4 weeks of the season, they were number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA. They're bottom 5 right now. Sam Mull, along with Brock and Rolberg, have been pretty solid as veterans, but now Pierce Johnson is on the injured list. TJ Antone, north of a 5 ERA. Lewis May is hoping to give the team a little bit of life. Tony Santillan, he has been awful with over a 5 ERA. And then on the flip side, the Cardinals have had a rough go of it as well with their bullpen. Ryan Stanek still has over a 5 ERA, but he's been better recently. Matt Savancin, who was awful in this bullpen, gets sent down to the minor leagues. The likes of Gordon Gassefo, Riley O'Brien, Jojo Romero, these guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA to be able to bolster this team. As for the Cardinals, they're getting back to respectability with that bullpen. So do think that the Cardinals find a way to be able to get the job done here with having just enough offense. Jordan Walker has been able to give you 13 plus home runs. Cardinals do have some big home and road splits with regards to their offense. When they've been away from home, they've been a top 8 team, averaging about 4.75 runs per game, closer to 3.9 runs per game at home, but have Ivan Herrera moving the line, give you over 375 on base. JJ Weatherholt, Alec Burleson, they're giving you about a 350 on base. Need more the likes of Victor Scott and company at the bottom of the lineup. Nathan Church has been in and out of the lineup as well, but do like the Cardinals to get to Brady Singer here. Semi-total at 8.6, so like the over, willing to lay up down minus 135 on the Cards. 957, 958 on the card. The Rockies are going to be playing us to the Milwaukee Brewers as Brandon Sproat is on the bump for the Brew Crew and Ryan Feltner goes for Colorado. And Colorado does find themselves as a pretty good-sized underdog here between plus 122 to a plus 135. Meanwhile, with the Brewers, they are anywhere between minus 144 to a minus 156. So on this game, 11.5 to 12. On the 12, under is minus 120. The over is even on the 11.5. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105. And for the Brewers, set them at a minus 145. That minus 144 is my absolute max buy point, but it is a buy point. Both of these pitchers have certainly had some shakiness thus far this season. For Sproat, 6.24 ERA, 5.59 fielding dependent, 5 walks, 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 3 plus runs allowed in each out of his last 4 starts. Ryan Feltner has just dealt with injuries. He's had a lot of bad luck over the last few seasons. Hasn't been awful when he's been out there. 4.85 ERA when your home ballpark is Coors Field is honestly not bad. 1.7 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. And for the Brewers, they just continue to small ball their way to victories. They've been a top 6 team in terms of run creation, despite the fact that they are last in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Jake Bauers has been leading the way. He's been able to give the team 10 home runs thus far this season. He's up to about a 355 on base. Jackson Trio hitting above a 300 since coming off the injury list is big. Christian Yelich move the line. He's giving you about a 360 on base. William Contreras has been able to 285. The list goes on. And on the flip side, you've got a Colorado Rockies team that is 9th in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home. They're averaging about 4.7 runs per game. You'd honestly expect a little bit more considering the home ballpark is Coors Field, as Coors Field has the highest ballpark factor in terms of helping out offense in all of baseball. Mickey Moniak being on the injury list, that really hurts the team because if you only got one guy on the roster that's give you over 8 home runs, that'd be Hunter Goodman, 15 home runs. He's been rock solid, and then TJ Bromfield up to about a 360 on base. He's been able to supply 8 home runs himself. You've got a few guys like a Troy Johnson hitting above 300, Tyler Freeman hitting at 275 there, moving the line, but then you need more out of the likes of Jordan Beck when he's been out there. He's dealt with a little bit of injury. Edouard Julien, Kyle Karros, these are guys hitting at 220 or lower, throwing their Ezekiel Tovar. So I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game, and for the Brewers, they certainly have the leg up in terms of bullpen. For the Rockies, they're back in the bottom 8 in terms of bullpen ERA. Antonio Sensatello has actually been great. He's been able to give you a sub 250 ERA, but Jimmy Harrigan, Victor Vodnik are currently on the injured list. You've had the likes of Jay Nill, Brandon Bernardino, Juan Mejia. These guys have been relatively okay in the bullpen. Aside from Mejia, he's now got an ERA above a 5. Other guys may have been able to supply a sub 4, but for the Brewers, they entered into yesterday with a top 8 bullpen in terms of ERA. They do have Grant Anderson deal with a little bit of injury, but Chad Patrick has been a really good long guy to save these guys like Aaron Ashby, who's been so good in this bullpen. They do have Trevor McGill, who's still supplying over a 4 ERA, but he's been able to round into a little bit of better form recently. Shane Drone is a good option for the team as well. So with the Brewers willing to lay up to minus 144 on the money line, like the under semi-total 11.2, 959, 960 on the card. It's the Mets. They're going to be on the road against the Slam Diego Padres. As Michael King hopes to be the king for the Pods, and you got one Mr. Christian Scott, great Scott, going for the Mets. And right now with the Mets, you're going to be getting them as a very slim underdog here, right around plus 108 to a plus 115 and minus 125 to minus 131. That's your number on the Padres. 7 to 7.5 is the total. Under is minus 125 on the under of 7.5. The over is plus 105. Meanwhile, on the 7, over is minus 120. Under is even. And with the Padres, I did set them on the money line at a minus 167. So I'm going to be willing to lay it. I just don't have a lot of faith here in Christian Scott. I know that the ERA has been really good for him, but that said, with Christian Scott, he has been giving up a lot of walks. He's up right around about 4.7 walks per 9 innings. Nice 297 ERA. He's given up about a half home run per 9 innings, so that's solid, especially for Mets standards. And for Michael King, fielding dependent is about a half point higher than that 3.18 ERA, but he is only giving up 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, so 3.8 walks per 9 innings. That's a little bit scary with him as well, but he is backed up by a bullpen that has been one of the best in all of baseball. Jason Adam, along with Mason Miller, both of these guys are supplying a sub-2 ERA. Someone like Wandy Peralta has been good in this bullpen as well, as right now he's been able to lower his ERA down to below a 3, so I've been liking what he's been able to provide. It's been a little bit rough for Audrey Marahone this far this season, but overall it's been a rocking and rolling bullpen. But for the Padres, they do find themselves a bottom 6 team in terms of run creation. Manny Machado, 11 home runs, but he's hitting just a $174. Fernando Tatis Jr. still has just a 1 home run. Honestly, getting on base, 340 on base, and you've also got Gavin Sheets, who's been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's been able to do a nice job, give you about a 340 with regards to his on base as well. But Xander Bogaerts, after a nice start to the season, he's starting to toilet bowl. Miguel Andujar, he's down to hitting about a 260. Ty France has actually been your main guy in terms of moving the line, getting on base. And other end for the Mets, this team is averaging about 3.6 runs per game away from home. That is 29th out of 30 Major League Baseball teams, and you just haven't been able to get bang for your buck out of the likes of Marcus Semien along with Bo Bichette. These are guys hitting below 235 and not necessarily supplying you a lot of power. Juan Soto has been the mainstay for the team. 13 home runs, 380 on base. He's doing his part, and nobody else on the roster over 7 home runs. Mark Vientos has those 7 bombs. He also has a 284 on base. You've had Carson Benjay give you a little bit more, hitting about a 250, but I think these guys at the bottom of the lineup, Tyrone Taylor is one of those mix and match guys. The entire catcher spot list goes on and on. Not great. Now for the Mets, they are a top 10 team in terms of opening ERA. I really liked what I've seen out of the likes of a Austin Warren, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley. These guys give you a sub 3 ERA, and all of a sudden Luke Weaver has been much better for the team as well. He's gotten his ERA back down below a 3. Devin Williams continues to be all sorts of brutal, but even Tobias Myers is a relatively good long guy, so do think that you're going to be able to get a lower scoring game. Semi-total 7.3. Would rather have the 7.5 to the under rather than the 7 to the over. And for the Padres, set them at a minus 167, taking them on the money line. 961, 962 on the card. It's the Diamondbacks. They're going to be playing those to the Washington Nationals. Foster Griffin is on the bump for the Nationals, and Merrill Kelly is on the bump for Arizona. Arizona is minus 124 to a minus 136 favorite, between plus 110 to a plus 115. That's your number on Washington. 9 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 115. Under is minus 105 to a minus 110. And I do like the over. I did set my total here at a 9.2 for Merrill Kelly. It's been an up and down season for him, to say the least. He's been much better recently as he began the season on the injury list. First 3 or 4 starts were just absolutely disastrous, and he's still paying for it. He's got a 5.06 ERA despite the fact that he's given up 300 runs or fewer in 6 out of his last 7 starts, 559 fielding dependent. He's getting a career low 5.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's a concern, and that really hasn't picked up 4 punch-outs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts, but has been plenty impactful there. That said, have a Nationals team that they've fallen down a little bit. They're now 3rd in the league in terms of run creation, but I mean, darn near 5.3 runs per game. The only teams that are above them right now, the LA Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves, so that's been impressive to look at. And I mean, we talked about it with Danny Vietti. They've got 2 main guys, James Wood, along with CJ Abrams. These 2 guys have been able to give you over a 375 on base. Wood has been able to give you good Wood, 17 plus home runs, 12 plus out of CJ Abrams, but now Curtis Mead is giving you over a 330 on base. He's been able to give you 8 home runs. Dallin Lyle's a guy that's able to move the line. Brady House doesn't really hit for a lot of average, and he's been a little bit in and out of the lineup, but he's been able to give you a little bit of pop as well when you've needed something out of Luis Garcia. He's been able to provide hitting about a 260 as well, and on the other end, you've got a bunch in the years on the Diamondbacks that has been a little bit wobbly with their offense as well. Last year they were top 16 in terms of run creation, and Ketel Marte is starting to pick it up once again. 10 home runs, still hitting for about a 260, so that's been relatively solid. And Corbin Carroll, Guillermo Vargas, both of these guys hit about a 285, combined 15 home runs. Nolan Arenado, 345 on base, 8 home runs. So these guys have been solid. They've been dealing with some injuries as Adrian Del Castro has gotten more at-bats than he was thinking, and he's been hitting below the Badillo sign of 200. But Ryan Waldschmidt, since they called him up, he's been able to give you about a 340 on base. Diamondbacks right now about a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA. I still really trust Paul Sewald at the closer spot, but likes of a Ryan Thompson, Juan Murillo have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Even Kevin Ginkel down to a 3 ERA. Now, I don't know if that's going to be a mainstay, but Taylor Clark, a sub-2 ERA, and Brandon Garcia, actually a sub-1. So, these guys have been very rock solid. Meanwhile, for the Washington Nationals, Richard Dickey Lovelady has found a nice home for this team as he's been able to supply an ERA that is below a 3, and you've been able to have a lot of these other guys be able to give you some okay innings, like Orlando Revolta is down below a 2 ERA. Clayton Beater, since coming off the injury list, has been solid. Still have some albatross as they got rid of one of them in Ciano Perez, but Paxton Schultz right around a 484 ERA. Gus Varland, he's had a little bit of a rough go of it as well. And for Foster Griffin, he has been pitching to quite a bit of contact, and I will say, he spent the last few seasons overseas, and he's been able to do a nice job acclimating back to the States. 376 ERA, but fielding time closer to 489, 1.7 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings. So I think that you get some run scoring here. So if I tell 9.2, like the over for the Diamondbacks, willing to lay up to a minus 135, and the money line set them at a minus 136. 963, 964 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the Tigers as Framber Valdez goes for the Tigers. Brian Wu says woohoo to another start, and for Seattle, they are a minus 120 to a minus 131 favorite, anywhere between plus 109 to a plus 112. That number on Detroit, 8 is the total, under is minus 120, the over is even on the 7.5, over is minus 120, under is even money. I set the Mariners at a minus 124. I'm right now seeing some minus 120s. I'm going to be willing to lay that money line for Brian Wu. It's been a little bit of an up and down season for him, but if you look at the raw ERA in comparison to the fielding dependent, I feel like he's pitched better than that 344 ERA would indicate. 296 fielding dependent, 0.8 home runs, 1.8 walks allowed per 9 innings, and faces off against the Tigers team that overall this season has been in the bottom 7 in terms of run creation. They've been much better here recently, getting back Harry Carpenter, who was a 20-plus home run guy last season. Gleyber Torres is coming back as well. That's big because they've been dealing with so many of these guys like Zach Shore, Zach McKinstry, Jake Rogers at the bottom of the lineup that have been absolutely terrible. Wencio Perez as well. A lot of guys hitting below a 215, but getting back more stable bats to help out with Riley Green, give you over 375 on base. Kevin McGonigal has been able to do the same as well. That's huge. And when it comes to Framber Valdez, 439 ERA, but he's still not giving up the deep ball. 0.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, just 7.2 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's a little bit of a concern. And he goes up against a bunch in the Mariners that have been able to find their sea legs a little bit more on offense. For Seattle, still only about 20th in terms of run creation thus far this season. And Cal Raleigh being out of the fold, that has certainly not helped out the team, but they've been able to have Julio Rodriguez now supply a double-figure amount of homers after a rough start to the season. Same with Luke Raley, and for Raley, he's been able to do a nice job hitting above a 260 for this unit. Josh Naylor still not giving you a ton of power, but he's been able to round into form a little bit more with over a 250 average. Randy Rosarena, only 6 home runs, but 366 on base. Dom Canzone's moving the line as well, and even though the batting average for J.P. Crawford is rough at a 224, 10 home runs at a 350 on base. Meanwhile, for the bullpen of the Mariners, they've been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERAs. You've got a lot of guys that'll be able to supply a sub-3 ERA for the team. Gabe Spire, Cooper Criswell, Edward Bizardo, Jose Ferrer, list goes on and on. So do think that the Mariners do a nice job getting the job done in a lower scoring game. I did set my total here at a 7.3, so I'm going to be taking a shot on the under and the Seattle Mariners up to a minus 123 on the money line, 965, 966 on the card. You've got the Yankees. They're going to be playing us the Red Sox as it is sunny gray, hoping for a sunny day for Boston, and Ryan Weathers hopes the weather's a storm for the Yankees. The Yankees minus 140 to minus 150 favorites, and between plus 122 to a plus 130. That's your number on Boston. 8 is the total. Over and under both at minus 110. I set the Yankees at a minus 164, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot here on the money line for Ryan Weathers. He has been able to do a really good job with this swing and miss stuff. Weathers is giving up a little bit of the deep ball, but still, I really like what he's been able to show this season. 352 ERA, 388 fielding dependent, and the 1.5 home runs per 9 innings is a bit of an issue, but 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Boston has been much better with their offense when they've been away from home rather than at home. The Red Sox, they entered into yesterday having 3.3 runs per game at home. Dead single last in all of baseball, 4.7 runs per game away from home. That is a top 10 mark in all of baseball, and For Sonny Gray, he's almost been the opposite of Ryan Weathers. He is way down with his swing and miss stuff, but he's been able to do a nice job in terms of not beating himself. A 3.06 ERA, about a 3.52 fielding dependent, down to about 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's on track to be, I believe, a career low for him, but 0.7 home runs, 2.5 walks per 9 innings for the Yankees. Entered into yesterday averaging about 5.7 runs per game at home. Been a little bit rough for them because they've had Aaron Judge out of the lineup the last few days, and every time Aaron Judge is out of the lineup, that's not great for the Yankees, but Ben Rice continuing to give you about a 3.90 on base. He's been able to supply 15 plus home runs. Paul Goldschmidt has been rock solid as well with a 3.60 on base. Cody Bellinger, a 3.75 on base. So a little bit more balance than before, but still need a little bit more from the likes of Ryan McMahon and the catcher spot at the bottom of the lineup. And for the Yankees, it's been a very intriguing bullpen because David Bednar, along with Camilo Duvall, both of these guys supplying an ERA above a 4, but the likes of Tim Hill, Brent Hendrick, and company have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Fernando Cruz has been solid as well, so the Yankees, 11th in terms of bullpen ERA. Red Sox entered into yesterday, 3rd in the league in terms of bullpen ERA, and then Brian Bayo happened. They still did a relatively solid job of piecemealing things together after that, so shout out to them. And for the Boston Red Sox, it is a case where they're dealing with Garrett Whitlock being on the injury list, but Aroldis Chapman continues to be one of the best closers in all of baseball. Greg Weissert has not been himself thus far this season, but he's rounding back into form. Tyler Semenijo has picked up the slack, being able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Same with Giovanni Morin. And for the Red Sox, you've had Wilson Contreras be able to supply 12 home runs, 3.90 on base, and they've got guys moving the line right now. Masataka Yoshida has been able to give you about a 3.50 on base along with Wilder Abreu, and he had a home run in that previous series as well, but still not getting anything out of Caleb Durbin. Andrew Marisario, he's a guy that really doesn't give you a lot of pop either. Catcher spot has been a little bit brutal, so interesting circumstance here. I did somebody told it at 8.1. Here at the 8, I do like the over for the Yankees. Made them a money line favorite of minus 164. Gonna trust their money line. 967, 968 on the card. It's the Blue Jays. They are going to be playing us to the Baltimore Orioles. As for the Orioles, it's Brandon Young getting the start, and Trey Savage goes for the Jays. The Jays are between minus 150 to minus 160 favorites, and plus 130 to plus 135 is your number on Baltimore. 8 to 8.5 is a total on the 8.5. Under is minus 120. The over is even on the 8. Over is minus 120. Under is even money, and I said a total here of a 7.6. I do like the under for Trey Savage. This guy has been absolutely tremendous since coming off the injury list. I recognize they had one rough start. I believe it was 2 starts ago, but still, 2.19 ERA, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and has yet to give up a home run in 37 innings. Does need to work on the 4.1 walks per 9 innings, but still, 2.19 ERA, 2.45 fielding dependent. You're not going to complain there. Meanwhile, for Brandon Young, he's been a little bit up and down for the Orioles this season. The ERA isn't the worst at a 3.35, but the fielding dependent of a 4.33 is a bit alarming. Only 6.9 strikeouts at 3.6 walks per 9 innings. He is coming off of some really good starts. 200 runs or fewer allowed at each out of his last 4 starts, but also backed up by a bullpen that is now in the bottom 8 in the big leagues. In terms of bullpen ERA, you've had Guillermo Cano along with Uncle Rico Garcia be able to give you a sub-2 ERA, but these guys have come off the injury list, like Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Aiken. They've been able to give you a well above a 6 ERA thus far. Anthony Nunez, he's above a 5 ERA, so you've had a lot of these mix-and-match guys. Grant Wolfram, not necessarily be great in the bullpen, and for the Orioles, some pretty big home and road splits with regards to their offenses. For the Orioles, averaging about 5.03 runs per game at home. That's a top 5 mark in all of baseball. Closer to about 3.9 runs per game away from home going into yesterday. Should be closer to 4 after they put up an 8 spot yesterday. Gunnar Henderson, 13 home runs this season, but just a 274 on base. Pete Alonso is getting back into form, though. About a 325 on base, 12 home runs. You expect a little bit more there, but it's better. Samuel Basayo, they're starting to get bang for their buck there. 9 home runs, 345 on base. Adley Rushman, about 335 on base. Still need a little bit more on some of these young guys. Colton Cowser, Kobe Mayo, Tyler O'Neill. These are guys hitting at 225 or lower. And then on the other end, the Blue Jays do a really good job in terms of not whiffing. They've been a top 2 team in terms of fewest strikeouts on a per at-bat basis, and got plenty of guys that are doing a solid job in terms of finding a way on base. George Springer's not been one of them. It's been a rough season for him, but he does seem to be rounding into form a little bit more. Vlad Guerrero Jr. is still stuck on 3 home runs, but that 390 on base has been sterling. Kazuma Okamoto, 12 plus home runs. He's the lone guy on the roster with 8 plus home runs, but you've got Nathan Luke sitting above a 300. You've been able to have good production as well out of Ernie Clement, who's been able to hit about a 300. Yo Hendrick Pinago has been able to move line in. For the Blue Jays, it's a very hot and cold bullpen. You've got 3 guys that you can really trust in. Louis Varland has been amazing this year. Braden Fisher, Tyler Rogers. These guys give you a sub-3 ERA. Mason Fluharty has been a little bit better here recently as well, but when you go to Jeff Hoffman, Tommy Nance, guys like this, it has been very brutal for them. So it is a Blue Jays team that I think they're going to be able to get the job done, and they should have the bullpen saved a little bit with you Savage being as good as he is. For the Blue Jays, I actually set the run line price at a minus 107 right now. You're going to be able to get good plus money there, right around about a plus 135. Like that Blue Jays run line, and I like the under. I did set my total at a 7.6, 969, 9:70 on the card. It's the Athletics. They're going to be on the road against the Astros. Peter Lambert is on the bum for the Astros, and Jack Perkins goes for the Athletics. Athletics are in a pick-em game, -108 to -110 on both sides. 9 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Over is -125. Under is +105 on the 9. Under is -115. Over is -105. Set a total of an 8.8. Personally, I'd rather take that 9 under rather than an 8.5 to the over, as Peter Lambert has actually been relatively respectable this season for a Astros pitching staff in general that hasn't had a lot of that. 3.77 ERA, closer to a 3.43 fielding dependent. Not giving up the deep ball. 0.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Now he is giving up the 4.2 walks per 9, and that leaves him vulnerable to sending out there an Astros bullpen that's currently in the bottom 2 in terms of ERA in the bullpen. But now you've got Josh Hader back. That should be able to help out a little bit. Steven Okert has been able to give you a sub-4 ERA. Anya de los Santos seems to be rounding into form a little bit as well. So the likes of AJ Bluebow, Brian Abreu, who have been absolutely terrible this season, and Jack Perkins has been shaky if you look at the raw ERA by 5.46. This is going to be his first start of the season. All 17 appearances have come out of the bullpen, only 28 total innings. I don't think that he's went more than 3 innings in all but one of his appearances. He had like a 4 2/3 innings appearance against Seattle a few days ago. So want to be mindful there. Probably not going to lend a lot of length, but does have a 260 fielding dependent. He's only given up 1 home run in 28 innings. He's getting about 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, really not giving up a lot of walks as well, and he is backed up by a bullpen that, maybe it's not sterling for the Athletics, but you've had a lot of guys be able to step up. Hogan Era, Scott Barlow, or give you a sub-375 ERA. Justin Sterner has been able to give you some good innings. Joe Kuhnel has been able to do a nice job as well, and for this Athletics lineup, you've got Henry Bolte now hitting at 300. That's big, because you've seen a few of these guys, shall we say, wane with regards to their batting average. You just haven't gotten bang for your buck this year out of Brent Rooker and Tyler Soderstrom. Both of these guys hitting below a 235, though it looks like Soderstrom is getting back online. He had a home run yesterday. Shea Langeliers, well, Shea is banged for 16 home runs, about a 355 on base. Zach Aloff is hitting about a 265. You've had Thomas out there in the outfield do a pretty solid job as well. And Nick Kurtz just continues to draw walks. He's got like a 435 on base, and he's up to a double-figure amount of bombs as well. Meanwhile, for the Houston Astros, it's been a lineup that has been really carried by Christian Walker along with Yordan Alvarez, because Jose Altuve's on the injured list. You've got a few guys that are just out for the season in general, because bottom of the lineup, some of these guys like the Zach Cole Long, Zach DeZenzo, Bryce Miller, Cam Smith. These are guys hitting a 230 or lower, but for Yordan Alvarez, over a 400 base, he's been able to supply this team with 21 plus home runs this season. Christian Walker, a close number 2, 16 bombs. He's hitting for about a 320 with regards to on base, and he's not Paredes. He's not giving you the power that he has in the past, but still 335 on base. So these guys have been able to do a relatively solid job there. Do think, though, that Peter Lambert gives you a relatively good start, and I do think that the Astros have just enough to get the job done, especially with the Athletics playing a night game on Thursday and having to travel out for this one. So I did set the Astros at a -117. Like them on this pick'em line on the money line, and I do like the total to the under, so I tell it at 8.8. 971, 972 on the card. It's the Royals. They are going to be on the road facing off against the Minnesota Twins. Zebby Matthews is on the bump for the Twins, and Michael Wacha, and if he has a bad start, it's a dying Pac-Man voice of Michael Wacha goes for the Royals, and the Royals do find themselves between even money to -105, -110 to -118. That is your number on Minnesota. 8.5 is the total. Under is -110 to a -115. Over is -105 to a -110. And when it comes to the Twins, I did set them at a -143. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line for Zebby Matthews. It's been a little bit up and down for him the last few years in general. Last year, he was posting up an ERA well above a 5, but the fielding dependent was more 379 in his starts thus far this season. A 463 ERA, 460 fielding dependent. Deep ball skilled on 1.9 home runs per 9 innings, but is getting about 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. It's only been 4 starts, so I do think that it's a product of a small sample size, and now he gets to go up against a Royals team that entered into yesterday dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home, right around about 3.4 runs per contest. You have been able to get a little bit more out of Vinny Pasquantino recently, but still, about a 300 on base with 7 home runs. That's not cutting it. Salvador Perez is up to 10 home runs, but a 256 on base. Jack Aguilion has looked a little bit better. He's now hitting for about a 245, but Carter Jensen is starting to toilet bowl less than a 300 on base. Nick Lofton does not give you too much. Kyle Isbell right around about a 250 average, but no pop there. Bobby Witt Jr. decided to carry the mail with about a 355 on base, and for the Royals, they are winning less than 33% of their games away from home thus far this season, and you have had the bullpen be just very shaky in general. Bottom 5 unit in terms of bullpen ERA. Lucas Urcha, Sedge, Steven Cruz have an ERA that's above a 5. They're looking at Beck Way as one of their main relievers. Matt Strahm over a 3.75 ERA. John Schreiber's been relatively solid, but now you've got Nick Mears on the injury list, and for the Twins, boy, they've been a bottom 5 team. In terms of bullpen ERA as well, they traded away Simeon Woods Richardson for cash considerations. That means that cash considerations is going to help out the bullpen, but that said, Anthony Banda over a 4.50 ERA. Eric Orze starting to round into form a little bit, but Cody Lawyers and Andrew Morris, these guys have above a 4 ERA. It's been a lot of shakiness there. You do have a Twins team, though, that is a top 12 team in terms of run creation. Brooks Lee has been solid. He's been able to supply 8 home runs, hitting about a 250. Josh Bell just has not been able to give you too much as far this season. Byron Buxton continues to give you a ton, though, hitting about a 255 and 17 plus home runs. That's certainly going to play for this team. And then you've been able to have a few other mix and match guys do a nice job. Trevor Larnach has been able to give you over a 360 on base. Alec Martin has done a nice job moving the line as well. So I do think that for the Twins, they do a nice job in terms of getting to a guy, Michael Wacha. I mean, he's been relatively solid this far this season, but that said, I do think that he's doing for a regression on his 3.23 ERA. Fielding dependent, that's more around about a 3.91, 1 home run and 3.1 walks allowed per 9 innings. Did set a lower total here of a 7.7, as I do think that you're going to be able to get solid starts out of both of these starters. I do like the under after the Minnesota Twins. Took them on the money line, set them at a minus 143, 973, 974. It's the Guardians. They're going to be on the road against the Walker Texas Rangers. Cooper Rocker is on the bump for the Rangers, and Parker Messick goes for Cleveland. Cleveland is a minus 132 to a minus 146 favorite. Meanwhile, anywhere between plus 118 to a plus 125. That's your number on Texas. 7.5 is the total. Unders minus 120, and the over is even. For Texas, set them at a plus 119, so plus 120 or better. I'm going to be one to take a shot on the money line for Messick. He has been really good thus far this season, and I think that he's going to be one of the better pitchers in the American League moving forward, as he's supplied a 2.21 ERA, 3.04 fielding dependence, a little bit concerning. He's getting 9.6 strikeouts and 2.7 walks per 9 innings, and we all know that out there in Arlington, the offense has been very suppressed this season. You look at this Texas Rangers team, they're averaging about 3.5 runs per game at home. That's third worst in all baseball. More like 4.4 runs per game away from home, a little bit closer to league average. And on the flip side, I have a Guardians lineup that surprisingly has been pretty solid in terms of moving line, getting on base. They're 21st in the league with about 4.2 runs per game. That goes up to about 4.34 away from home, closer to league average. And Travis Bazzana has been able to breathe some life into these guys, as he's been supplying an on-base percentage that's hovering right around about a 400. You've had Jose Ramirez be able to find a little bit more with the power. 9 home runs, back up to a 350 on base. Anel Martinez is up to 9 home runs as well. You still do need those superstar guys to be able to pick it up a little bit. Rhys Hoskins does have a 353 on base, but 200 average, 6 home runs. You need a little bit more there. And for Stephen Kwan, it's been terrible, hitting like a 206. But hey, you've had Brian Rocchio provide about a 364 on base. Austin Edges has been able to get online a little bit more. And for the Guardians, it's about a league average bullpen in terms of ERA right now. And Eric Sabrowski being on the injury list hurts them, but Cade Smith had a remarkable month of May where he had like 14 saves. You've had Colin Holderman be really reliable. He's been able to give you a sub 2 ERA, and Cody Hewer has been able to give you a sub 3 ERA as well. So these guys are starting to round into form. Meanwhile, for Cooper Rocker, some of the biggest home and road splits in all of baseball for him, as this guy has been absolutely banged around like a piñata when he's been away from him. And this is not just one season's worth of data. This is an entire career's worth of data. Overall for the season, by the way, 354 ERA. He has been giving up about a 4.14 fielding dependent. 4 walks of 7.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, but does keep the ball in the yard. He's been giving up less than a home run per 9 innings, but for his career, when he's been out there in Arlington, he is giving up, not even kidding here, 0.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 271 ERA, 7.02 ERA away from home, darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings allowed. So that's a big divide. And for the Rangers, they continue to be a top 8 team in terms of bullpen area. The Jacob Junis and Jacob Latz have been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. Chris Martin has been dealing with a little bit of an injury, a long cold win, but both of these guys have really been the weak links in the bullpen. You've had Jalen Beaksby, a relatively reliable long guy. So for the Rangers at a plus 120 or better, do like the money line, and I think that this is going to be a lower scoring game. I did set my total at 7.3, so 7.5 plus. I'm going to be in on the under. 975, 976 on the card. The Phillies playoffs to the Chicago White Sox. Anthony Kay says okay to another start, and Jesus Luzardo is on the bump for the Phillies. Phillies are favorites here of anywhere between minus 180 to minus 190. Meanwhile, plus 155 to a plus 162. That's your number on the Southsiders. 8.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. For the Phillies, I did set them at a minus 199 on the money line. That run line price, pretty much any sort of plus money I was willing to take there. I'm right now seeing about a plus 110, so I'm going to be willing to fire that up. For Anthony Kay, he's actually rounded into some very good form here for the White Sox, as he was shaky to begin the season. 3.77 ERA, 5.23 fielding dependent with 1.3 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but 2 earned runs or fewer in all 6 of his starts in the month of May, and in 10 out of his last 12 appearances overall. So I need, after a little bit of shaky start to the season, as may able to find it, Jesus Luzardo, he's also pitched much better than what his ERA would indicate. 4.30 ERA, but a 2.77 fielding dependent, 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, innings, 0.7 home runs, 2.6 walks per 9, and it feels like that positivity is starting to hit him a little bit. Now, it is a Phillies team that last year they were averaging about 5.3 runs per game at home. That has waned to more like 4.3 runs per game at home this season, but still have Kyle Schwarber give you Schwar bombs. He's on pace for well over 50 home runs, 350 on base. And then Bryce Harper, he's been able to supply about a 360 on base. He's up to 14 home runs this season. It's all about getting things figured out with the infield, as Trey Turner down for what? JT Realmuto, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott. These are all guys hitting at 230 or lower, below 290 on base. Not a lot of pop, but you are getting a little bit out of Justin Crawford in the outfield in terms of move line, along with Brandon Marsh. Marsh has been hitting above a 300 for the Phillies. Bullpen has been much better with Yohan Duran being locked down with a sub-3 ERA along with Orion Kerkering. Now, some of these guys like Jonathan Bolin and company have been a little bit rough, and Brad Keller, a little bit shaky himself, 3.71 ERA. Meanwhile, for the White Sox, it is a bullpen that continues to be in the bottom 7 of the big leagues in terms of ERA. Starting Dominguez is just not the answer at the closer's role, but Brian Hudson, Grant Taylor, Sean Newcomb, these have been guys that have been able to give you a sub-350 ERA. Tyler Davis has been able to give you about a 344 as well, so I do think that they'll do a solid job there, and I do think that this is going to be a game where runs are going to be a little bit more at a premium, so if I told it at 8.1, like the 8 after the under end for the Phillies, any sort of plus money will take a shot on that run line. 977, 978 on the card. It's the Rays are going to be on the road against the Miami Marlins. Ryan Gusto goes for the Marlins, and you got Drew Rasmussen on the bump for Tampa Bay. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 8. Under is minus 120. The over's even on the 7.5. Over and under both at minus 110. The Rays are between minus 130 to minus 143 favorites. Meanwhile, between plus 115 to plus 125. That's your number on Miami, and with this one, I did set the Rays at a minus 153. I like them on the money line for Drew Rasmussen. He's been very remarkable in terms of just keeping things out in front of him and not hurting himself. He will give up about like 1.2, 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but 3.36 ERA, fielding independent of a 3.66, 8.5 strikeouts, 1.8 walks per 9 innings. And for Ryan Gusto, this man has just not pitched a lot at the big league level. He's given up 3 runs over the course of 3 innings thus far this season. Split time with the Miami Marlins and the Houston Astros last season, and he did not impress. 5.67 ERA, 1.5 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings last season. And it's a Rays team that is ranking 9th in the big leagues in terms of runs per game. You got Junior Camaro's on pace for 35 plus home runs. Yandy Diaz has been able to move the line along with Jonathan Aranda. Both of these guys give you over 375 on base. Both guys have been able to give you 8 plus home runs as well. And then you got more of the ancillary guys like Hunter Fiducia at the catcher's spot. He's been able to above a 250. Cedric Mullins continues to be useless, but hey, you've had Chandler Simpson give you 14 stolen bags. He's hitting at 275 for the Rays. They've been about a league average team in terms of bullpen ERA. They got off to a really shaky start through the season, but you've had the former Orioles and Cole Sulzer, Brian Baker really do a nice job rounding into form. These have been 2 guys that have been able to give you an ERA for the most part below a 3. Cole Sulzer, since coming off the injury list, has been absolutely awful, so that has went well above a 3. But I mean, when these guys are rocking and rolling, they've been pretty rock solid. Casey Lugumina, since coming on over to the Rays, has a sub-3 ERA. Garrett Clevenger, since coming off the injury list, has been pretty rock solid as well. Meanwhile, you've got a Marlins team that they've been up and down with regards to their bullpen. They're a team that is slightly above league average in terms of bullpen ERA, but I mean, it's really been the long guys who have been able to do a great job. Lake Bakar has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Michael Peterson, great name. He's been a little bit shaky, a little bit above a 350 ERA, and Calvin Fauché has not been able to find it recently, but Anthony Bender has rounded into form, sub-350 ERA. When Tyler Phillips has been in the bullpen because they've had him start actually a little bit recently, sub-2 out of him as well, and John King has been the king of being able to give you a sub-250 as well. So interesting spot with a Marlins team that is in the bottom 6 in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Liam X, he's been able to supply 12 home runs. He's hitting about a 350 with regards to his on base. And then Otto Lopez, Xavier Edwards, they're giving you over a 300 average as well. Javier Sanja, he's been hitting about a 250, but you do need more out of these guys like Kyle Stowers and Owen Casey hitting between about a 220 to 230. Alberto Hernandez has had a tough time moving the line, so it has been a little bit brutal at the bottom of the fold. Christopher Morel's giving you nothing, so I did set this money line price at a minus 153. We'll take a shot on the race here, and like the over, semi-total at 8.2. Wrap things up with 979, 980 on the card. You've got the Angels. They are going to be playing against the Dodgers, as the Dodgers are going to be the home team in the battle for Los Angeles. And right now we're seeing a few openers, even though it reads undecided versus undecided. Minus 185 to minus 190 is that number on the Dodgers. Plus 155 to plus 160 on the Angels with a total of 8.5. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. If you're looking at the run line of the Dodgers, you're going to be finding that at a plus 116 as of right now, seeing as high as a plus 120 as well. I would be willing to take a plus 120 or greater on the run line if this is a pitching matchup that I think it's going to be. Right now, seeing Roki Sasaki going up against Reed Detmers, and if it's not Sasaki, it's probably going to be an upgrade here for the LA Dodgers. I recognize that Sasaki has been a little bit better recently, but he's got a 4.59 ERA, a fielding independent that's hovering right around about a 5, and he has still been giving up the deep ball quite a bit this season. He's been giving up, in terms of home runs on a per 9 inning basis, about 1.8, 3.5 walks per 9 innings. The swing and miss stuff is starting to come to him, though. 8.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and 3 earned runs or fewer in each out of his 5 appearances in the month of May. So it does feel like things are starting to be sorted out there. And for Reed Detmers, he's actually been much better than the ERA would indicate. Right now, 4.63 ERA, 2.98 fielding dependent, 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings. But he's backed up by a bullpen of the Angels that continues to be in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Jose Firmino has an ERA above a 4. Now, Chase Silseth has been solid. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, but I ain't past that. You've got a lot of albatrosses. Drew Pomeranz over a 5 ERA. Ryan Zephyrian is up in the answer. Brent Suter over a 4 ERA. Kirby Yates has been a little bit better recently, but I mean, it's up, down, all around for this team. And for the Angels, one thing that they've had going for them is that they've been able to give you quite a bit of boom away from home. They're actually 4th in the league in terms of run creation away from home with about 5 runs per game. They've actually been significantly worse at home. And you saw Mike Trout, who's been able to give you 14 home runs over a 385 on base. Zach Neto has been able to give you some pop as well, 10 home runs, about a 340 on base. And Joe Adele does give you 9 home runs. He's had some home run robberies, and he had a ball go off his head and fly over the fence a few days ago, but 277 on base. You need a bit more there. Josh Lowe, when he's been out there, has been hitting below the Mendoza line of 200. Vaughn Grisham is starting to give you a little bit of something, along with as well Peraza. Peraza, 340 on base, 7 home runs, liking what I'm seeing there, but it's still a little bit of an all-or-nothing lineup. Meanwhile, for the LA Dodgers, what has been surprising about this lineup is that it's been significantly worse when they've been at home rather than away from home. They're second in the league with about 5.9 runs per game. Away from home, closer to about 4.65 runs per game. At home, but Kyle Tucker, he had a home run in that series against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Looks like he's getting online. You had your main 2 home run guys being Andy Paz and Max Muncy, 13 and 14 home runs apiece. Both give you about a 340 to a 350 on base. Shohei Ohtani down a little bit with regards to home run power, but still give you over a 4 on base. Freddie Freeman looks to be rounding into form, 275 average. He's up to 9 home runs. And for the Dodgers, this has been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Recognize that Tanner Scott over the last week or so has had a little bit of shakiness, but still for the season 2.10 ERA. Will Klein has been really good. He, Jack Dreyer, Alex Vesia will give you a sub-3 ERA. Kyle Hurt has been able to do a nice job, give you good innings as well. So for the Dodgers, if I can get a plus 118 or better, going to be looking at that run line, assuming that it's Detmers versus Roki Sasaki, and then with this total, semi-in at 8.8, do like the 8 after the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Friday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Danny Vietti over at CBS Sports for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have 1 of 2 ways to fire those in. First one is my Twitter /X timeline at Judith_81. Keep in mind, Lord, naming does not matter. So, as per usual, please send these into the timeline. Otherwise, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm coming at you guys every single day on this podcast with picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.